SEO has gotten way too complicated to just dive headfirst into a campaign without some sort of strategic way ahead. So our agency built a custom report in Google Data Studio that pulls through valuable SEO metrics from analytics, Search Console, Ahrefs, and SEMrush to give us a clear picture of the past performance of that website to help us understand the best way to attack that campaign. In this video, I'm going to run you through exactly how to analyze this report, and we've got a link to another video that will show you how to set it up as well. You can also check out the full version of our blog, which will give you the written version of exactly how to analyze this report as well. So with that being said, let's dive on. The value in this report is the ability to get a lot of data and insights very quickly. I'm going to show you how I do this in less than 20 minutes for each new client that we have. So while I have this report open, I also like to open that client's Google Analytics. I like to put their website into either Ahrefs or SEMrush, whichever one you use. I obviously like to have their website open, and I like to have their Search Console open because it allows me to dive deep in and find things a lot faster. So this first page here, this is a summary and insights. This is what I like to fill out at the end of it. These two things up here are templated for the client, but this is an editable section right here where I'll take notes and then I'll put in my insights here, which then pass to the next part of the campaign, which really feed the strategy and project plan. So the first page here, this is an overall dashboard. This is not necessarily organic specific, but what I like to use it for is to get an overall picture of where their traffic's coming from and the value of that traffic. So what you can do up here is you can toggle the dates. You can change the date to whatever you want. I usually like to set it for about a year or so, but sometimes I'll deep dive a little bit further. Here's where you can select the traffic source. Personally, I like to look at things like referral. I like to look at things like just social. It really helps me get a picture of how they're performing outside of organic search. Even though there's not necessarily a direct correlation between social, it is important to understand if they're getting things to pop off, what type of content is popping off. So for example, if I just select only here, the report is now only filtered for sessions coming from social media. So again, it shows the users, how many sessions there are, the conversion rate, the time, and the pages per session. This here is looking at the goal conversion rate. So this has to have the website has to have some sort of goal completion on the website. If this is an e-commerce website, you can easily change this to e-commerce conversion rate. The point is we want to see how traffic impacts conversions on the website, right? Specifically using this filter up here to check out what the most valuable traffic source is, if it's paid search, if it's paid social, if it's organic, whatever that may be, we want to understand that. This then is going to tell us the source of the traffic. So you can see here that Facebook is driving pretty much all of their social traffic here, and then the landing page that this is coming to. And this is important too, because what this is telling us is this is a blog post that's driving most of the traffic from social media, which is kind of obvious, right? Because people on social media do want to see content as opposed to homepage stuff. But this is good stuff to take notes. And again, I usually have a notepad over here that I'm taking these notes down because these are the things that you need to communicate to a client or to stakeholders to let them know. Because a lot of times people will just push a homepage through social media and think that it's going to drive traffic. And it's important to understand which pages, the data does not lie, which pages are driving the most value, right? So again, you can go through this and filter for different social. You can also look to see if it's going to be mobile or desktop. Again, this is very important as well. I always will check for mobile only. And then I'll come back here and change the type of traffic as well. I like to look at all traffic. So again, I'll just come up here and just select all. And now we have a clear picture of how mobile traffic is pathing through the website and how it's converting and performing compared to desktop traffic. So again, looking at the traffic source, looking at the landing page, understanding the engagement on these things is really important from a mobile point of view. The final thing up here, which is also very, very important, specifically for conversions and on e-commerce, is new versus returning. So this tells us if it's a new visitor or a returning visitor. Specifically, again, for e-commerce, this is very important because more often than not, the people that are purchasing are not first-time visitors to your website. There's a certain path to conversion that people follow, and it's generally a returning visitor. And it's important to understand this and really communicate this to the person that you're using this with as well. So I'm just going to select this for only returning visitors. And then I'm going to select this for all traffic too. And again, what's really, really important to me and interesting to me here is to see how that affects goal conversion rate, because more often than not, goal conversion rates, especially e-commerce, are always higher from a returning visitor. And again, there's not necessarily always direct action points off of this, but these are things that should be put into the notes of this page and communicated to clients and stakeholders to let them know the value of return traffic and the value of nurturing and the value of getting people to your website as many times as possible to get them familiar, to get them into that funnel and really drive them towards conversions, right? The final thing that I really like to look at here is I'm going to select all. And then I'm going to filter for only referral traffic. And then I'll also set these dates for a very long period. And the reason being is I like to see which sites are driving the most referral traffic, because from an SEO point of view, this is very important for link building. In my point of view, we always want to focus on building links that drive traffic. They tend to have the most SEO equity. So what I want to do is I want to get a complete history of this website, if possible, to see what type of referrals they're getting and the value of those referrals as well. So I'm going to set this for 2 years to see how this shakes out. So now we have is a very long history of referral traffic, and when we come down here, we can actually see the source of that referral. So this is the domain, this is the number of sessions, and then this is the number of goal completions, right? So what I like to do too is, because we can get a lot of spam in here, is I like to go directly into Google Analytics to just verify or review this traffic. So if you come over to acquisition for this website, so now we have is the same date period of referral traffic coming to the website, but what I can do is I can add on a secondary dimension for landing page to see exactly which page on the website that it's linking to, so I can get a better understanding of how we acquired that link. So we know a lot of these are spam, but this one right here, newyork.legalexaminer.com, this would be one that we want to look into more. So what I like to do is I like to start to add these domains to a notepad so we can start to look into these when it comes to link building, right? So if we can just take this website and dump it into SEMrush or Ahrefs, we can get a list of similar websites. We can understand how we got this link. And again, it gives us an easy and straightforward method to scale up and get a really good starting point for link building and doing it the right way as well. So back to the report now. Now we're getting into a little bit more SEO specific type data here. So what this is looking at is your top organic pages by traffic, engagement, and conversion. So again, if you're running e-commerce, you can easily change this to e-commerce conversion rate. But what this is doing is it allows you to have some filters up here by date, by traffic source, and then by mobile, desktop, or new versus return to understand what your top pages are. And the things that we want to look for in here are a few things. So number one, just what type of page is performing the best. Is it a blog post? Is it a product page? Is it a landing page? Is it a service page? Is it your home page? This helps us to understand how people are accessing your website and what type of keywords you're ranking for. Also, we want to look at kind of the share traffic. So if you have a few pages that are taking up a lot of your organic traffic, we want to look at ways that we can increase that. And it also just helps to understand and break down. If you're only looking at your total traffic or total keywords, if one page is 90% of that keyword, 90% of that traffic, your share traffic is pretty off, and you're not really getting as much value out of your organic traffic as you thought. So the other thing to look at is, are key landing pages losing or gaining traffic? So again, this is looking at over time, and it's automatically going to compare it to the man, I'm stuttering today, the period before it. So if you set this up here for a year, then it will compare this to the year before that. So again, looking at your key landing pages, your service pages, your e-commerce pages, your product pages, your category pages, are they gaining or are they losing traffic? Finally, what I like to look at here is not only the conversion rate, but also the engagement rate here. So what I like to ask myself are these pages satisfying searcher intent? And that's a big question, only to look at bounce rate based on that. But basically what we're looking at is saying, what is the bounce rate of these pages really high for this content type? Now that comes with a few caveats. Number one, blog posts and content are going to have a higher bounce rate, because even if it's a good search result, because if somebody's looking for how to tie shoelaces and they come to your page about how to tie shoelaces, if it suffices that question, then it's a good result. Bounce rate should be taken into consideration. One of the things that we can do to mitigate this and really to understand is to dive into Google Analytics. So coming to behavior, site content, and then content drill down. Now what this allows us to do is this allows us to look at what's called average time on page, right? Average time on page allows us to look at bounce rate in conjunction with each other, because if somebody comes to a page and leaves right away, that page will have a 100% bounce rate. However, they could come to that page and they could stay for 10 minutes, read all the content and leave, and that's still an engaged visit. If we're not taking into account the average time on page here, then we're not getting a full scope of what the bounce rate really is, because how it normally calculates is average session duration, which only starts calculating if somebody visits a second page. So this is a very important metric to look at in conjunction with bounce rate. So if you have a high bounce rate, double check your content drill down to make sure that the time on page is high as well. If the time on page is low and the bounce rate is high, then you have a problem, and that page needs to be looked at again to make sure it's really satisfying searcher intent. So on to the next page. So this page is looking at organic search trends. So this first chart up here is comparing this year to the previous year. Again, you can change the dates up here to look at that, but this is just letting you know if your traffic is trending up or down organic only over the last year. Again, this is just important to understand how it's performing, especially month over month. So really get a good idea of how it's performing. This is a complete history, so you can change the dates on here. So this one has an older history, so I would actually edit this to go back maybe another year to find the first date, because we want to see how traffic has trending over the course and over the life of that website. You can generally see if there's a spike or if there's a dip, there might be some sort of penalty. Again, to dig deeper. So if there is a spike, what we'd like to do is we'd like to make a note of that. We'd like to ask the client if they're doing something different. We can also dive into Google Analytics to find out if they were doing anything different. Maybe they got some big referrals. Maybe they published a lot of content. We want to understand why things are spiking, or especially why things are plummeting if they did something different. The final chart here, this is not useful for everyone, but this shows you organic traffic by day. So you can see how day of the week might impact your traffic. Generally, things are going to dip on the weekends, but depending on the website, they could spike. Again, this is just for understanding, so we understand what we're looking at, and we don't have any surprises in the campaign when we're moving forward. If traffic does dip or if it spikes, then we can look back at this report and say, hey, look, we noted this, we knew this was coming. It's not an issue. Let's move on. So this next page is pulled from SEMrush. Again, you can use Ahrefs if you prefer. I have that noted up here. It's really whatever you have access to, or whatever you prefer. This first one is an overall search visibility report, and this is important because this is going to show us all the keywords that a website is ranking for between 1 and 100. What's important to note here is that these are not all #1 rankings. These could all be positions 50 to 100, which do not drive any traffic, but they do give us an idea of search engine indexability, which shows us how many pages and keywords are indexed, which shows us room for improvement or things that we might want to take a look at further. So if you're not familiar with SEMrush or Ahrefs, I'm not going to get into that here, but again, this is just overall keyword visibility. Of course, we want to see this trending up, but what's really important here, this is the organic distribution. This is also taken from SEMrush. So of these keywords here that it's ranking, this shows you the positions, and really these two here are we're going to drive all the traffic. Positions 1 through 3 and then 4 through 10. So you can see here the positions, the distribution of this website, they have a lot of keywords indexed, but they're all pretty low. That can actually be a good thing, because what that tells us is that there's a lot of low-hanging fruit on the website, a lot of pages and keywords that we can quickly improve. It's a lot easier to get something to move from position 30 to position 10 than from position not ranked to position 10, right? It's going to take a lot less effort to do this in terms of just tweaking on page, maybe building some links, but we want to look for these low-hanging fruit opportunities and understand what we have. Again, this is important for the plan of attack in terms of which pages we want to start with in terms of optimization, because maybe there's a couple pages here that we can tweak, push them up between 4 and 10 or 1 and 3 and get a massive increase in organic traffic. So this here is pulling all the keywords. So again, this is just a direct download of all the keywords ranking. It's an easily filterable chart here, which you can look to see what's ranking position 1, what's position 5, the exact keywords, the page, the previous position, the search volume, all these different things you can just filter here. It's a really cool chart that we just pulled through from Google Sheets directly into here, just so they have an idea of all the keywords that are ranking for. So this next page is pulling directly from Google Search Console. This here is a manual input, and this here is pulling from Search Console. This is showing us the breakdown of traffic in terms of clicks to the website. That's mobile, tablet, and desktop. You can see that this website is heavy desktop traffic. This here is pulling the number of clicks, the exact number of clicks for Google. It only goes back 90 days. Impressions, which is the number of times your website showed up in Google. So again, this is similar to keyword visibility. We definitely want to see this trending up. If this is trending up, that doesn't always mean traffic is going up, but that does mean that Google is picking you up for more. You're being shown more and more times, right? It doesn't mean first page or first result, but again, this trending up is always a good thing. You can see this website starting to have some trouble. We'd want to look into this a little bit more. This here is click-through rate. So this is telling us the number of times that your website was shown versus how many times it was clicked on. So if you're having a low click-through rate, again, you can deep dive into Search Console. This chart up here is actually pulled manually. We have one of our offshore people do this for us. This is looking at branded versus non-branded search. And this is also really important because this helps us to understand the difference in the traffic. I don't want to say the quality of traffic, but it's more of an understanding of traffic. So for example, we have a client who does a lot of offline advertising. That drives, when you put up a billboard, you put up a TV ad, a radio ad, what happens is people can't click on anything, so they go to Google and they search for what they heard. That's branded search. That is a really good thing. It helps with your overall SEO, but there's a difference between having 100,000 people go on your website through your brand versus 100,000 people go on your website through buy sneakers, right? Buy sneakers is a keyword that we really want to optimize to improve SEO while keeping in mind on branded search too, because we want to increase that as well. It's just important for all things. But this helps us to understand really the quality and the value of that traffic from a commercial point of view. So what we do here is we segment the Search Console data for branded search versus non-branded search to show us the breakdown in traffic. So you can see here this website doesn't have a lot of traffic at all, but it's about 50-50, which, depending on your industry can be a lot, but I know that this website does a lot of billboard advertising. They're a law firm. They do a lot of radio advertising. So they're driving a lot of branded search through the website, which is good, but we want to document this to understand this, because if we're sending them a report every month and reporting on traffic and it's going down, right, but we're actually increasing their money keywords, but they stop doing offline advertisement, they could look at their overall traffic and say, hey, what's going on? It's going down. So it's important to have a handle on how the traffic is coming to the website, the